to the picnic. Thank you so much for coming.
That's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
And you have politely declined the biscuits, but
I have.
It's good to know that they're there.
It is, I think you're right. You're absolutely right. It's good to know. It's like a John Godber play at the Fringe. It's good to know it's on, but I'm all right. Thank you very much.
You're not going to go and see it in a hurry.
Yeah. No, I think I had some earlier, and I'm okay.
And this is a kind of return to stand-up for you. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's a fair thing to say. Yeah.
And
it is stand-up. Good Lord, it is.
How long has it been since you've done it properly like this?
A while, quite a while, because my shows have sort of tended to veer off and be kind of weird little stories of documenting tales of trials, tribulations and adventures and discoveries. Basically I go off and have an adventure and come back and tell the story. Last show I did was about my dad and about opera and about degenerative illness, which was a theatre piece. The one before that was a manifesto, which is kind of like an interactive weird audience thing where we discuss politics and policies and ideas, and sometimes they're very serious, sometimes it's very silly. The way it works is sitting side by side and playing with that. And so it's been a while that I've actually done straight stand-up. It's terrifying. It's terrifying. I'll be honest about it, because, you know, you go off and you go, no, I'm doing something adventurous, I'm doing something new, and I think that genuinely stuff like Bravo, Figaro and the Manifesto are new things and different things. And then you go, but is that a way of putting off the inevitable knocking on the door of my subconscious of stand-up luring me back, going, you love it in the clubs, come on! And actually there is a bit of me that does.
So have you done proper comedy club sets in preparation for this, or? No.
Okay. No, I've just kind of, I think jumping back into, I've compared at the store. I did a couple at the comedy store. I did a benefit for the Belarus Free Theatre, who are on here, who are really great, and they've got an amazing show called Trash Cuisine, which is really good, which is about death penalty. And I compared the comedy store benefit, and there was like Omid Jalili and Issy City and Phil Jupiters and people like that, and Imran Yusuf, who's a really great comic. If you don't know him, he's a really interesting young comic. He's a superb guy. And so comparing the store was really, really exciting, and I think the trouble is every time you go back there and you do something like that, and you know, it's a benefit for a theatre company, so you know, you're going to get some people who have gone along for the cause, do you know what I mean? So basically I could do performance art and they would applaud, but you go back to the store and there still is that feeling there that it's like being bitten by the bug.
And you love that feeling?
Yes.
Said tentatively.
It is tentatively, because I wouldn't like to say, I wouldn't like to call this a stand-up show, though it kind of is. Because also it's a task. It's doing 100 acts of minor descent. It documents them. It will last for 1 year. This show lasts for 1 year. The only chance you'll get to see the full 100 acts of minor descent is if I complete it, and on the 14th of May there will be one show, and it will be all 100 acts I will document, and then that's it. It's over.
You will do that once?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it's gone.
So every time you do...
So it's quite arty.
Yes, so every time you do this show, if you've done another one, that's inevitably part of the show.
It starts to add into the show. Some of them you start to leave out and go, no, I won't put that one in. I'll leave that bit out. Because you start to go, well, because it is a stand, there's a sort of tension here, because it's also stand-up, you're in an hour, it's in the stand, you know, you've got Stephen K. Amos and Susan Coleman and Alexis Sale around you and Stuart Lee, so you better try and be good. Because it's all I think the truth of it is really important. I'm always fascinated by how you get fact and truth into what is essentially an artificial situation, which is stand-up, you know, or theatre. And I love how you try, and in Bravo Figaro I had recordings with my mum and dad, and I'd talk to them and have conversations with these recordings, and I'm fascinated by that with the Walking the Wall. You know, obviously this was, the stories are true stories, and obviously you edit and you change them and you polish them up a bit, as we do with all stories. But we'd have, what was great was there's a story about, in Walking the Wall, about being tear gassed on a demonstration in the company of a whole load of radical mimes, and the tear gas landing and all this sort of, and they have stink bombs. They spray people with this skunk water, which stinks. It's just repellent. And if you go on a demonstration in the West Bank and you get hit with that, you'll often find some person youth asking if you've got any cologne or something, because they're just and just sort of seeing a mime artist in the middle of it go. And actually, what's great was being able to, in the interval, because we'd take an interval and there'd be like a klezmer band playing before and during the interval, and we'd show footage from the walk, and it's great because you can actually see the clown and mime artist go make exactly the movement that I described, and it's lovely because suddenly the audience plug into the fact that this is a real thing and these are real stories and it is true, and that's really exciting when you can get people engaged in that way.
So you've still got a strong kind of take-home message behind this, even though it might be a bit more...
Well, the take-home message behind it is take one small step. That's it. There's a great, I've forgotten his name, there's an American activist who's very famous within sort of academic and community sort of circles, and he would do things like, there was a bank that was, I've forgotten exactly what the bank were doing wrong, but he organised a whole lot of people to put 1 penny in and take 1 penny out on the same day and block the bank. That black people weren't allowed to use toilets in an airport, so I got everyone to use the toilet. Right, just block the toilet. And just these small gestures are really, really important. And sometimes you can take a small gesture and it can have incredible consequence. You've only got to sort of look at the strength of a gesture by looking at. And I'm not in any way comparing myself to this, but if you look at Gandhi picking up a handful of salt, one of the most powerful gestures of anti-imperialism going, picking up a handful of salt, and that's an amazing thing. So actually, I'm quite fascinated by these things of small gestures and withdrawing our consent from the way that everyday life runs.
The fact that you're doing 100 of them, does it mean you're totally behind all of them? Or are there some that you're kind of like, I don't really care so much about this, but I've got to make a show?
Some of them, I won't do any that I'm not interested in. Some of them work better than others. That's the only distinction. We did what I thought was a lovely thing. Because Vodafone are tax dodgers, what I did was I thought I will try and make the company serve a public service by utilising what they have in some way. And so I used the front of their shop in Bath as a public notice board for public health announcements, and I got real proper public health posters printed up, and 5 o'clock in the morning went and covered the front of their storefront with public health notices saying, and there's one about, do you know the difference between, it's Skunk Stronger Than Badger, which is from Frank, the drug campaigning group, which is about sort of honest discussion about drugs and drug use. There's also another poster which was a doctor, genuine, they're all genuine sort of NHS and health posters, and the other one was, let's be clear, if you've had blood in your poo for 3 days, consult the doctor, let's clear out cancer. So, they're proper health posters that are on the front of a Vodafone shop, and it looks great. It looks really good. But if you tell people about it in the middle of a sort of stand-up set, you have to put up so much kind of explanation and go da-da-da-da-da-da. And so you go, actually, I was going to put that at the end of the show there, but because of the timing and the rhythm of the show and because of where we are in the show, I need to have a piece that actually motors through at that point. And so you kind of have to judge and balance the needs of the dynamics of an hour show with what you have. If I told everyone everything that I've done so far, it would go on for over an hour anyway.
Yeah. So you've got to take a choice pick.
So you have to pick a mix, and when we come to do 2 of the show, which will be a 2-hour show eventually, then that'll grow and grow and grow. And then we've got a new thing that we're working with a choir. So hopefully the choir will come in, and there'll be video stuff and all sorts.
Is there going to be life beyond a show? Is it going to be anything else?
Yeah, it's going to be an art exhibit. It's going to, because I'm working with loads of artists, so really exciting, and it's great. One of the things we're working on, my mate Noel Douglas, who's a well-known political artist, he's got access to a laser cutter, and so we're cutting out these stencils. So if you put it onto a £20 note and just go like that over it and take it off, you'll see a hanging banker from the two. Do you know what I mean? So you'll get, and there's all sorts of, that's just a silly one that we've done, but there's all sorts of things that you can do. So he's involved in it. There's a great guy called Daniel Mudford, he's an installation artist who's very sort of influenced by people like Joseph Boyce, who's one of the Fluxus artists, who is really, 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 I mean, if you're into your art, it's Fluxus. The word, Joseph Boyce did this amazing piece because he always adds, in his artwork, he always has felt and fat. Because he was in the Nazi Air Force, the Luftwaffe, and he crashed the plane crashed. He was a rear gunner, and he was dragged out. He was in the Crimea, and he was dragged out from the snow and the wreckage and rescued by Tartars who wrapped him in felt and fat. So every single one of his artworks has got felt and fat in it. There's this amazing piece at Tate's in 2005 of a broken down Volkswagen, and out the back of it a sledge is emerging out the back hatch, spreading across the ground, and it's all got felt, fat and a torch, and they're leading their way forward. It's amazing. It's brilliant piece.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Mark. And
so we've ended up talking
best
about
of luck
Joseph Beuys. I quite like that we finished talking about the Fluxus art movement.
I like how these are very different, yeah.
Well, the thing is, you know, if you're using loads of artists, and artists are exciting, visual artists are really, really exciting people to work with, and you know, and they're ideal for me because what I'm interested in are situations, and what they're interested in is creating events and creating eye-catching ways and concepts of art. And so actually, it's great to work with these people because they work exactly in the same arena.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
That's a pleasure.
Cheers.